Hi everyone, Sandy here. Welcome to my channel and to the tutorial for my 7x9 Count Your Blessings album that I designed using Country Craft Creations Fall Breeze paper collection. So stay tuned for the tutorial. To create this Count Your Blessings 7x9 album, I will be using Country Craft Creations Fall Breeze exclusive paper collection in the 12x12 size. So I will be using one pack of that. Shouldn't have to use all of it, but we'll see. We're going to need a pack of cardstock. I'm using the Artisan cardstock in the olive color. Now, I will say that you can make this project with a different Artisan color. You're not just locked in. I just chose this because it was a pretty color. I hadn't done anything with it yet. But if you see the different colors in this collection, you could use brown. Black would be really pretty, a burgundy. So don't feel like you have to use the olive green because I am. The reason I say this because you may go online at Country Craft Creations and find that it's out of stock. There's been a little issue with the printer being behind, and but they may be catching up by now. So if this one's not available, don't hesitate to use another. Another one of my favorites is the craft color, and that's usually available, a lot of that. So you're going to need a pack of this. I will list across the screen how many sheets I used if I remember to keep track of it. Hopefully I will. You will need 2 pieces of 12x12 chipboard. This is the heavyweight from Country Craft Creations. And you're going to go ahead and cut your pieces to these sizes. You're going to need 2 7x9 for the front and back cover and 1 2x9 for your spine. So go ahead and get those cut out of 2 12x12 sheets of the heavyweight chipboard. So you're going to want that. Then I am going to wrap my cover with patterned paper. So I've already chose the patterns and cut them down. If you haven't wrapped with the Country Craft Creations exclusive Bristol linen papers, I'm just trying to get my light not so harsh on the paper. Maybe that works. Okay. It wraps beautifully for a cover. It's my new obsession. So I'm going to wrap this one in patterned paper. Of course, you can use cardstock if you prefer. So whatever you're wrapping with, you're going to need 2 pieces that are cut 9x11 and 1 piece cut 5x11. So this is my spine piece. This is my front and back cover. So I'm going to go ahead off camera, assemble my cover because I'm using the lay flat method designed by Tamara of Country Craft Creations. I have a separate video that you can follow if you have never made this before. These are the sizes you're going to need for my album. Okay. The size used in the tutorial, I'm going to link up above. You're going to see it up in the corner there, and I'll probably put it in the description where you click on more. Go to that video if you've never made a lay flat before and make the album that way, the cover that way. Then come back and join me as we start the next steps on this. So go ahead and get your cover made and join me back here. When you're wrapping your cover with patterned paper, you need to make sure that your direction, like the acorns, you don't want them upside down on the front and the back. You want them going the same way. So I have mine all wrapped. And then on the inside, because when you wrap, to get this piece on here, I didn't turn it the correct way, but you still want a support piece. You could do it in cardstock, but I'm going to be doing it in patterned paper. So I'm using the other part of the one that was left over. So you need patterned paper that's 6 7/8 wide by 9 tall, but I did back it off just a tiny bit on that 9-inch to make sure nothing overextends on this 9-inch height. And then you need the same size of score tape, which I've already applied. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the backing off of my score tape from my patterned paper here. So this just strengthens this lay flat spine in here. It's a really good idea to have that on there. So I'm going to, this is the top side. So this is the one I'm going to line it up with, and I'm going to just center it side to side. Get it really close to the top that I can, like that, and then bring it on down and press it down. So then I'm going to burnish in my fold. I'm going to lift it up and just gently burnish, press that into that fold on both sides here. Then burnish all of this down really well. Use score tape because you don't want any buckling. So if you were to use glue on this piece, it could buckle when it bends. So you want it to be nice and smooth and flat. So that's why I use the score tape. And I think all the designers with Country Craft Creations and Tammy do that when they are using the lay flat method like this. So there we go. There's the cover. So we're ready to do something to the inside of the cover. For the inside covers of your album, you need two pieces that are cut at 6 7/8 wide by just under 9 inches, like 1/32 of, of an inch under. So I just put the minus sign so that you understand. And if you're using the My Colors like I am, you can do this either pattern paper or My Colors cardstock. The glue will kind of show through the lines and through there a little bit if you don't get it smoothed out really well. So I'm using score tape, so I cut 2 of the same size of score tape to cover the inside of my album cover. So go ahead and prep those and get those ready and glue those in. Because these are really close fit to the edges, we cut them at 6 7/8 by just under 9. I went ahead and put it down off camera because I had to get my head in, and I didn't want that in the way, so you wouldn't have been able to see anyway. So be sure and burnish them down really well. So now we have our 2 covers, inside, front and back covers in on our cover with our spine covered with this. So I'm loving how this looks. Beautiful paper wrapped. And now we're ready to build up here on the left side, and then we'll do a waterfall build up here on the right, and then we'll have a hinge here in the middle and start on our pages. So let's get started on the next phase. We're going to need 1 sheet of cardstock. For the inside of this front cover, we're going to cut 2 pieces here. Set this aside. Out of 1 sheet of cardstock, we cut 1 piece that's 6 by 9.5, and then cut 1 piece that's 5 by 12. So we're going to do some scoring. So let's set this aside. Let's take this piece first. You're going to score on the 6-inch side. Put that in at your top. Score at a 1/2 inch. Right there. Now you're going to score on your 9.5 inch side at a 1/2 inch. And at 9. And this is going to make us a big pocket. Okay. Then we're going to take our 5 by 12 piece. We're going to put it in the 12 inch at the top. I want you to score at 8.5. It's going to make us a flap with a pocket. Now turn it so that this section here, your score line at the 8.5 is at the bottom. You've got your 5 inch at the top. We're going to score at a 1/2 inch. Okay, so now let's take this. We're going to angle cut here at this score line. Just cut out that score line right there. Like that, and so I'm going to do a little angle cut right here. We're going to fold this in and burnish. So this will fold up this way. I call it a pocket, but it's really just an insert. here on this side. And then this one we're going to fold back and burnish. So this is our hinge piece right here. And if you have a little bit where you cut just sticking out, just kind of trim that off a little bit. Okay, I didn't like that right there. Okay, so we have that piece like that. Need a little more cut at an angle here. Okay. All right, that's better. So we have that piece like that. And actually, I think I'm going to be going the other way. Yes, sorry about that. I want it to fold under here so that this fold is to the hinge, and then the hinge goes back. It's just a matter of re-scoring it. So it should look like this. It should have your hinge here and this flap right there on that fold side, like that. See it? Now then this is a pocket. So the pockets you just angle cut here at the intersection. Fold your score lines, burnish. Make sure that they're not overlapping. Good. And that is a pocket like that. Okay. So I'm just going to burnish again. Bring in my mat here. And my album cover. Now pay attention to the direction if you're using the pattern paper. I don't want my acorns upside down. So this is my left side. Now this is going to fit here. It's not going to fit down exactly here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to cut pattern paper that's going to go as a mat underneath here. And this is going to fit as a flap right on top, like that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 pieces of pattern paper here and here that match, that I will use as mats. So let me grab that real quick. So I've cut my pattern paper mat to go here, and you need one for this left side. You need one pattern paper, one at 6 5/8 wide by 8 3/4 tall. That's giving you an 1/8 of an inch border, give or take. So if you see, put it here on the orange. So that gives you that nice looking mat there. And I am going to use glue for this. So this one we go ahead and put down before we put down our layers. Get my glue on. Sure you're getting it centered for your layers. You're straight on the, even on each side around the perimeter. Go ahead and burnish that with your hands, and then burnish it with your foam folder. I love that plaid. It is so pretty. Okay, so now this pocket is going to go here. And then this is going to go right there. So let's put this one together first. This right here, we're going to put the glue on this attachment hinge or flap. I'm going to clean off the glue and burnish that down. Make sure it's burnished here on my fold line and right here. So that's going to give us like an insert type pocket. Now I'm going to take this, and it's going to stack right on top of the hinge of this one. Or you could like put the other one down first and then fold it back and put it down. But I think I'm going to make sure that I'm lining it up So I'm going to put it down like that. So I'm going to put my glue here on the inside of this attachment flap. And then I'm going to stack it on top of this flap here. Just kind of fold it over. That way I want to make sure that I'm lining it up properly along this edge right here. You want this nice and straight, and right here on the bottom. So I'm just looking at them, make sure I've got them straight. So that when this attaches down, everything's going to attach on nice and straight. Okay, if it looks good to you, then take your cover, and then this is what's going to go in here. So this is your pocket here, and I didn't angle cut these on this other hinge, so I'm going to go ahead and angle cut that so that it's not sticking out into my pocket here. There we go. Now we fold this down, burnish this again to make sure they're laying flat. And I put my glue here in this hinge and the two side end ones. And then this is going to glue with the fold to the right, and then I'm going to line this up, center it top to bottom, straight here. You have to slide it down a little bit. So you've got about a ½ inch here on the right. And I get glue everywhere. Open this back, burnish this in here. You've got about an 1/8 of an inch from the top and the bottom. So make sure that burnishes really well and that it's attached down. So what we have here is we have a pocket here, and then we have this flap. And I'm going to probably put some kind of swing closure here on my paper, just like that. So that's what's on that side. Now we're going to go ahead and we'll do our waterfall. I had to think there what I'm going to do on this side. Waterfalls on the right side, and then we'll do our pattern paper on both of those at the same time. So they'll kind of flow together. So yeah, if you can keep yourself from getting a lot of glue on it, it's best, but it's going to be covered up, so it's no problem. I'm kind of messy that way. So anyway, let's get the rest of these cut, and I'll come back and give you the measurements. For the right side of inside of our cover, we're going to make a hidden waterfall. So we need to cut a mat like we did for the left side out of the same paper. Cut it 6 5/8 wide by 8 3/4 tall, but we are not going to glue it in because we need to cut the slits for the hidden waterfall flaps. From your cardstock, you're going to take about 2 pieces of the artisan cardstock, and we're going to cut 4 waterfall flaps that are 5 1/2 by 6. We will score those. And all the other components we need to finish the waterfall underneath, we need a mat that is 5 1/2 by 5 1/2. Set that aside. We need, for the closures, we need one that is 1 1/2 by 6 1/2 and one that is 5 1/2 by 6 1/2. These we will score. Then we need one mat out of the cardstock that is 3 1/2, yes, by 4 1/4. Then one mat out of a scrap of my colors that is 3 1/4 wide by 4 tall, and then one cut apart that's 3 wide. I trimmed it down to 3 wide by 3 3/4 tall, like that. And then for our mechanism for the slider piece, we need one that is 4.5 tall by 3 wide. And it doesn't need scored, we just fold it to fit. So that's what we need right now. So let's do our scoring. So let's set this aside right here and grab the scoreboard. So for our waterfall flaps, we do have 4 that are 5.5 by 6. So we need to score the 6-inch side at 1/2 inch on all 4, which will create a 5.5 by 5.5 waterfall for us. So 6 at the top, score at 1/2 inch. Okay, and then for our slider pieces, or the flaps of the slider, we need to cut one that is 1.5 by 6.5. We're going to score the 6.5 inch side at 1/2 inch. And then we're going to take the other one, which is your 1.5 by 5.5, or the 5.5 in at the top, and score it also at 1/2 inch. Okay, so we have all our scoring done, so we can put this away for right now and get to assembling our waterfall. So first, let's take our waterfall pieces, or flaps, 4 of them, and we'll go ahead and fold the score line and burnish them really well. I'm going to go ahead and fold and burnish score lines on our slider piece here and have that ready. Okay, so we need a mat and a craft knife. Okay, and our pattern paper, which is cut again 6 5/8 wide by 8 3/4 tall. Let me grab the book so I can show you that. So this is going to attach down in here, but we're going to assemble our hidden waterfall onto this and our attachments before we do that, before we attach this in. So this is going to fit right in here like the other one did. And then our waterfalls are going to be hidden and they're going to go inside. So we're just going to make sure we center them onto this. So let's move the book out of the way. Flip this over, and I'm going to need a white, because this is dark here, I'm going to use a white gel pen if I can. And also prep these to make it easier. Just go ahead and do an angle cut like this on each one, like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so I've looked it over. To center this, I need about a 5/8 on each side. So I'm positioned my ruler at 5/8, and I'm going to try it. I may have to do it with a black marker Sharpie. You want something that you can see because you're going to be cutting with your knife, and I don't think that one's going to mark good enough. So I'm just drawing a line with a Sharpie, I hope. Yeah, there we go. That one up. So I'm just making sure it's going to be about the same. Okay, about 5/8 here. Turn it around, line it up. That way I'm getting it straight all the way across. So that's 5/8 on each side. But if I look at my thing, I'm going to have to come out on each one just a tad. So like a 1/16 of an inch in, 3/2 of an inch. So I'm just going to scoot this the tiniest bit more. It's hard to make sure it's straight. Just have to allow enough to put it in the right place. So scooted it over just the tiniest bit, both directions. This. And that way I'll know where my end or where I will start. So now if I put this on here like this, here and here, that works. Okay. Now then, I want my first one about 3/4 of an inch from the top. So I'm going to lay this. So you have 1, 2, 3. There's your 3/4. I'm going to lay it on there. And from here, across. Now let's see if that's straight. Hope so. Should have been. If I cut my paper straight in the first place, 3/4 and 3/4. Okay. So now we're going to drop it down from that line a 1/2 inch. So we line up the 1/2 inch mark and we draw a 1/2 inch space in there. We're going to need 4 lines. So we do another one 1/2 inch apart. Make sure we're lining everything up with this ruler. It's great to have one of these rulers. You can see the lines through it. So 1, 2, 3 lines and the last one. Okay. 2, 3, 4 lines. So 1 for each. The last one will be down to here, and that's going to work out just about right here on the bottom because we will have another piece that goes underneath here to bring that on out. Okay. So now to cut it. So we need our craft knife and our ruler. Now, if you're comfortable with your trimmer, you could do that. Sometimes I think I'm better with the trimmer than I am with the craft knife. Make sure I'm still on the camera here. I'm going to line this up. And remember, I'm cutting from the outer edge all the way across. And hold that really tight. And stop right there. So now we have that split in there. Remember, we're cutting on the back side, so you don't have any lines on your front. So we did all our marking on the back side of whatever patterned paper you're wanting to use. So we're going to cut all 4. Whoops. I don't like it when I say whoops. Move a little bit here. Make sure it's lined up right there. Okay. Okay. And the last one. Okay. And there's our 4 slits on the front side. Now then, remember we did our angle cuts. We're going to take the first one for the top one. We're going to see if it slips through okay, and it does. Make sure it's straight. I'm going to flip it over. Make sure it looks straight here. Needs to come over a little bit to the other side. There we go. Kind of even. Make sure it's even side to side. And right up against the cut. And I'm going to take some glue on the underside here. Get some glue going. Oops. Get it down. Make sure you wipe off all that glue. Burnish it. That's the first one. I'm going to flip it over. Okay, and then we're going to raise this up. Wipe off any glue because too much glue came out there. Okay. Might have been easier to use tape on this. Let's do that. Let's get some score tape. It's going to be on the underside here. So put some tape right here. On each one of these on the underside because that's what's going to attach to the back side. So yeah, I think the tape, score tape, will be a little bit easier to stick down and hold. Okay, and then we burnish backings. Now that I'm just going to lay this down, I'm just going to stick this second one in to the slot. Oops, from the front side to that second slot. Just feed it through, and then you're going to put the first one down, and you're going to make sure we're lining it up. So get everything, pull it down to the slot, and then make sure it's lining up on both sides, the edges here. Once you have it that way, hold it down, flip it over, and then reach under and pull your tape backing off. And then go ahead and push that down. Yeah, much easier. Flip it back over, make sure we are straight where we want it to be. Okay, the other one, flip it up, put it in that slot, lay it down, make sure we're getting it all the way down, and then line up the other two with it. Turn it over. Make sure again. And then pull that tape backing off. Stick it down. Okay, and the last one. Flip it up. Put it in the slot. And make sure we've got it in all the way. Whoops. Popped out. So make sure it's in the slot. Make sure it comes all the way down like that. Okay. Now I've got it where it belongs. Flip it over. Tape backing off. Burnish that down. And if it looks like it's not in right, you're going to peel it up. And I'm going to reposition this last one. I don't think it was in right. Or my slot might not have been cut right. Okay, so there we got that. Now I'm going to take tape, some more score tape, and I'm going to put it across all of them just to secure as an extra security, and then we'll pull that off when we put this on the page. So there's the waterfalls like that. This one is going to go right under here so that it fits down to make that fifth one like that, a mat. So next we're going to put on our slider pieces. So the longer one goes here at the top and center it. So I'm going to put glue on the inside of this flap right here. And I'm going to center it. I'm just eyeballing it. Put the fold on the top of the page. Burnish that down. Okay. And then the bottom one's going to line up with the top one. And of course the fold goes on the bottom of the page. So the glue goes on the underside here of the fold. Fit that here. Make sure they're lining up, and then burnish. Flip it over. Okay. Now then, this piece here, this is your 3-inch by 4.5. The 3-inch goes up and down like this, and this is going to glue around, and I don't score it, I just do it by hand so that I'm sure that it's going to slide. So I fold one down right along the edge and burnish. Fold this one over, and if it looks like it's going to extend too far this way, then I would trim it, but it looks like it's going to fit just fine. So burnish that. And before I glue it together, I'm going to slide it and make sure it's sliding. So I'm going to take this off and put glue here on the edge. Not all the way towards the fold, though. You don't want to close that up. So just carefully glue this piece together so it's like an envelope opening. I'm going to burnish that. Make sure it's sealed. And then, of course, I'm going to take my bone folder, my Teflon, and clean out any glue that may have got in there. Looks okay. Now I want the cut edge here on the top, so I'm going to slide this on. slide this one like this. So there it fits right there. Then this piece we're going to assemble. So we have our mat. This is a 3.5 by the 4.25, and then we're going to glue my colors, the 3.25 by 4, right there. So we'll mat that on there. Then our cutter part that we cut down to 3 wide by 3 3/4 tall. I'm using Fall Breeze Autumn Leaves from the collection. Center that on. And this will go onto just the slider piece right here. This piece here that slides up and down. So I only want the glue right here and in the center, not all the way to the edges. And I'm going to center that over that piece. And then we're going to put this in the book, and then it'll be ready to add pattern paper to that part there. So got all that on there, and it slides up and down. Okay, so let's grab the book cover. And so this is going to go right in here. Now, of course, we'll probably add pattern paper to our slider pieces once we're doing all that. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over. I want to pull the backing off of the tapes here. This over, and we're going to center this. We'll have to put some glue on it. Put this over and carefully glue this down and center it. Okay, get it on straight and burnish it all down. Pull this up and burnish in between each one. Okay, so now that we have this up like this other piece that was your 5.5 by 5.5 is going to fit here. So I bring this down to make sure she's lining up. Okay, so put the glue on this piece. Okay, there we go. We got that mat in there. So we'll be doing pattern paper. This all closes up like this. Okay, and there's your waterfall, your hidden waterfall in. And we're ready for some pattern paper for these sections. Okay, so now that we have our bases of our components in our front and back cover, we're ready to put our pattern paper on, and I've already pre-cut mine. I will go over some of it with you so you'll know what I did. Of course, you can pick the papers out that you want to use, and also um, either matte or not matte, and cut the sizes that you want. I tend to go with about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. It's a personal choice, so you can do what you want to do on your patterning, but I'm going to show you what I've got done, so give you some of the measurements before we go ahead and do our hinge and then start to working on the pages, because this is an album and it will have pages in it. I'm shooting for 5 pages inside this album, so we'll see how it all fits in. So anyway, here on the left front cover, I have paper clipped what I'm planning to use on mine. Now we have the pocket here. So for the pocket, I am going to add a matte in the Mandarin Orange. This is the My Colors. Um, see if I can read my notes and tell you what I cut. I may just use the ruler here. It might be easier. Um, so for the pocket, I did cut the matte, and it is, oops, got to go the right way, 5 1/4 by 8 1/4. So that's going to go right here on top of this pocket. And then for the pattern paper, I chose the back side of the plaid. And so I cut this down to 5 by 8, which gives you the 1/8 inch all the way around like that. So if you wanted a smaller margin, you could cut your paper bigger. It's up to you. So cut one of those, one matte and one of the pattern paper. For this, I cut 2. So I have one in the plaid, and this one I am not matting it because it's the back side. So this one I cut to 4 1/4 by 8 1/4. And then when you flip it over, this one on the inside, let me take it out so we can go over it real quick. I did cut a matte, and I think my notes are wrong on that, but I'm giving it to you correctly here on the video. The matte is 4 1/4 by the 8 1/4. So that's going to go inside this little, I'm calling this a insert pocket because it's open on 2 sides. That goes in there, and then the patterned paper here is on top is cut at 4 by 8 to give us that 1/8 of an inch all the way around. So that's going to go right in there. And then on this top of the insert pocket, I cut a Mandarin orange matte that is 4 1/4 by the 3 1/4, and then I'm going to use the plaid, which is 4 by 3. So that goes there, and then I'm going to use this cut apart that comes with the collection, Autumn Blessings. So that's going to go there. So that is that side. So let me pull some of this off because I don't have it all clipped together, so I can show you. Okay, so we open this up. So for our waterfalls, I am going to mat each one with the Mandarin Orange. And so you need, I think I can read my notes on that. Hang on just a second. I'll make it a little quicker if I have that. So for the mats for the waterfall flaps, they're going to be 5 1/4 wide by 5 1/4 tall, and you're going to need 5 of those. So I have one for the front of each of these. So you need 5 because we have 4 flaps, and then we have the one on the bottom. Then the patterned paper for these, you're going to need 5, and they are 5 by 5. And then what I also did is I have this old punch for the photo corners, and so I punched each one so that when you glue it in, you can use it for an insert for photos if you want to. I think it's still available. There was a newer version, I think probably by We Are Memory Keepers. I'm not sure. I have to check on the Country Craft Creations website and see if they still have a punch available. So you need 5 of the pattern, okay? Then for on the back side, I decided I wanted something where you could actually journal if you wanted to for your for the theme of Count Your Blessings. And so these I cut, and you need cardstock mats for the back side. You need just 4, and they are the 5¼ by 5¼ and I also punched the corners on these so you could insert something you print on your computer or a photo or something like that. So that is for the waterfalls. So we have all of these that go on the back side. And then for the little flaps here, I want 2 for the front and the back. I'm going to mat the front and the back. So I'm using the Mandarin orange. So the mats in my colors is 1¼ by 5¾ for the top. So you need 2 of those. And then for the bottom, same size, you need a 1¼ but they are 4¾ so you need 2 of those, one for the front, one for the back. I'm going to use the plaid here on the front. So pattern paper, you need 2 that are 1 inch by 5½, and you need one that is 1 inch by 4½ for down here. And then I'm going to use, these go on the inside. Then for the inside, I'm using the purple, and you need one that is 1 inch by what did I say, 5½? Yeah, and the 1 inch by 4½. So those are for that, and then this has already been done, and I'm not going to mat the back of this. So what I'm going to do is get all these glued, and after that, I'm going to do that off camera, glue all these down. Ink them if you want to, ink the patterned papers if you want, and then when we come back, we'll be working on the hinge for this album. Okay, so I was busy gluing down my patterned papers over here, and I thankfully remembered I wanted to do a swing closure here for this flap because I didn't use any magnets in it. You could use a magnet if you wanted to, if you haven't done your patterned paper yet. So I went ahead and put down my orange mat here on the pocket. Now, before you glue the pattern or the last piece of paper down on this pocket, you want to attach your swing closure with a brad. So I picked out this out of the cut-aparts that I have that came with the collection. I just love these pumpkins on this, and I glued it to some of the orange Mandarin, my colors, and a fussy cut around it. And I am going to also double mat it and glue it onto this scrap of the olive artisan cardstock. So this is going to make it really a strong swing tab. And we're going to fussy cut this. I'm only showing one cut. I didn't think you had to watch me cut through both of them. And don't worry about it being 100% perfect. It is fine. Just kind of carefully cut around the shape. Perfection in handcrafted is overrated. It's handcrafted, and if you look at store-bought stuff, you'll see that perfection is usually overrated in store-bought stuff too. So we have to keep that in mind and not be so critical of ourselves and how perfect everything is. See, that one's a little short right there, but I don't care. It doesn't bother me a bit. So I'm going to poke a hole in this. I may use, it's pretty thick. I may use my smallest hole punch just so to make it easier. Punch a little hole in there. And I went to my stash of brads. I have a little tray of fancy brads. I've probably had this 10, 15 years. It's got little numbers in it like a calendar. It might have been a Christmas one, but it's got faded, turned to gold look color. And I thought, well, this looks great. So I'm going to open up the prongs. I like the color of it. And I'm just going to stick it in there like that. And I picked these pumpkins to go with this. Now, I'm going to put this up here a little higher. And what it does is you're going to swing it to open this flap. So we've got to make sure it's pretty big. I hope it will swing all the way off. Okay. So I'm going to position it here. And I'm going to take my black marker Hold it where you want it. Let's do it about right here. Okay, the paper has got to lay. Make sure you're putting it where you want it to go. Your mats and that all nice and straight. Then lay this over it. And let's put it right here on that paper. And I am just going to use my pokey tool on that. I could punch a hole, but I think just a smaller hole would be better. Don't want it tearing out too big. Then you take your swing tab thing. This is a little larger than sometimes you use, but I love the image, so I think it'll be really pretty on there. And it should hold the flap down pretty good. Now put it through the pattern paper. Open up your brads really well. Push them down. You don't tape them or anything because you want it to swing. Then we're going to flip this back and we're going to mat this down with our glue. Make sure you get it right there on the edge. Okay. And position this. Okay. And burnish it down. Isn't that pretty? That paper. Love this collection. If you haven't picked it up yet at Country Craft Creations, you really ought to check it out. Of course, it's always going to be available. If it's not available when you go to the online store, it doesn't mean it's never coming back. It just means it's from the printer. She just needs more to come in, and it will be back. It's not one that's going to ever go away because it's exclusive to Country Craft Creations. So then you swing this around, and you bring this over like that, and that holds your flap down when you close your book up. Fabulous. I love how that looks. Very, very pretty. So now I'm ready to keep working on this side, and I'll show you what I get done. There's no closure. We've already got our closure on this one, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay, so we have all the pattern paper on the inside of the cover, on the elements, the front left and the back right side. Got all these glued in. I love how it looks with this pattern paper. Of course, we'll be adding some tags and photo mats on this pocket on the left side here on the inside front. And now we're ready to make our hinge. So I've already cut mine and scored it, but I am going to show you again. So you need one piece of cardstock that you've cut down to 7 inches wide by 8.5 tall. And you put your 7-inch at the top. And you're going to score every ½ inch, starting at a ½ inch. And score at 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, and at 6.5. What we're going to have is 1/2 inch, 5 1/2-inch hinges with 5-inch gusset in between. So let me move this out of the way, and you can look at that if you need to jot those all down, but it's really easy. Cut you a piece that's 7 by 8.5. Score the 7-inch side every ½ inch all the way across. Okay, so now we have this. We're going to fold our score line. Our first one, we're going to fold it back. Then the next one, we fold forward so that we have this hinge piece here. We're going to do the same here on the outer side. We're going to fold the first ½ inch back and then the next one forward. So that gives us 2 hinges right there. Okay. Now then, this is going to be a valley. So we need to fold this one forward like this. And then the next score line is going to fold up. So just fold it this way. So I'll show you just real quick. So you've got this one folded up and that one folded down. So you skip a line. We're going to fold this one so that it has a valley, and the next score line is going to fold with a mountain. Hope I'm making sense. This one's going to fold with a valley, and then the next one's going to have a mountain. It'll make sense when I show it to you in just a minute. And of course, we've already got a valley on that. So we have a mountain between these first two. Then we have a valley one here on each side, and like this, and like this. It's just easier to see how it goes together. So that's what you want, like that. Now we're going to turn this over, though, so that our mountain ones are down. And we're going to take our 3/8 inch score tape, and we're going to flatten this back out. So we put tape on our first 1/2 inch section. Grab my tear tool that's also from Country Craft Creations. We're going to skip 1, 2, and on the 4th one we're going to put tape. Skip 1, 2, tape. Skip 2, 1, 2, and tape. Skip 2 and tape. So you have 5 tapes right in the center of these 1/2 inch. Go ahead and burnish the tape backings. Take your pokey tool. Got glue stuck all over me. Okay, pull this back. Fold this one to the one next to it. Burnish that. Take the tape backing off of this one. Fold to the one next to it below, and then fold back. This makes it easier. Take the tape off, backing off. Fold down to the next 1/2 inch and burnish. Fold back on itself and burnish. Tape off, take the backing off of the tape. I always say tape off, but actually I'm taking the backing off. Fold down, burnish, fold back on the score line, and tape off. Fold down to the last one, the last 1/2 inch section, burnish, and fold back on itself. And now when you turn it over, you have 5 hinges sticking up like that, with 4, I mean, gussets in between. So grab your book and let's see how she looks inside there. And that's going to fit right in between that spine area, just like that. So now we're going to do some more burnishing. I like to flip them all the same direction and burnish all together like this, and then flip them all the other way to make them kind of, fold back and forth really good. So there we go. We got them really nice and flexible. So now we're ready to put this here inside between here. Now again, remember your score lines are going to go right in between those two, that section of the spine. And this is 8.5, this is 9. So it's going to draw a pencil line at a 1/4 inch here on the bottom. Put the 1/4 inch line on your bottom of your cover and make you a line here in the spine. Turn it around, and we're going to make another one here on this side. And we're going to use this as our guide for the hinge. So I do like to use glue, and I'm going to take my fine tip glue here, and I'm going to put glue on each section. I think glue holds it a lot better than score tape. I have had score tape come loose depending on where you're at and your humidity. So you need to make sure that you're got your glue on here pretty good. Okay, I'm going to turn this so I can see. And I want to make sure that the fold here, and all of this goes along the top, that this is all the way as far over as I can go. And over here, and you don't want it into the fold. So I've got it. Let's push it over just a little more while your glue is still wet and pliable. And make sure it's even on the lines here at the top and the bottom. I'm just going to move this down just a tad. Okay, I think it looks pretty good. It's right along that fold. Bring it over this way some. Just want to make sure that everything is going to fold okay. Bring it this way. There. And press it down. And now we're going to burnish it. So I've got it straight, top and bottom. Take my bone folder, if I can find it. Well, with my fingers right now, I'm going to, while it's still wet, make sure that I'm going in here till I find my bone folder. There it is, under the ruler. Burnish really well. And if you got some glue coming out, that's okay. We're going to clean that off. And just burnish in between each hinge. The glue comes out, that means it's pressed all the way to the end, and that's good. Clean that off. Pull this apart and burnish. And burnish. Okay. So there's our hinge in our spine section. And we're ready to work on some pages. To create pages for the hinges here, you're going to need 5 sheets of 12 by 12 cardstock, and you're going to cut those down into 5 that are 6 by 9.5 and 5 that are 6 by 8.5. We only need to score the 6 by 9.5 on your 9.5 inch side. Put that in at the top. Score at a 1/2 inch and at 9. 1/2 inch and 9. I've already done all my others, so I have all 5 scored. These are the pieces that go on top of these to create our base pages. So let's move this out of the way for now and assemble these base pages. So take your larger pieces that you scored, and of course fold and burnish the score lines on the same side so that we have 2 hinges facing each other like this. Just like to turn it over and give it a good burnish on both sides. So this is what's going to create our base pages. So go ahead and burnish all of those. Now you take the piece where you've got the 2 folded ends and the one that doesn't have any scoring, and you're going to glue these 2 together just like that. I've already done 4 of them. So we have 4 pages here ready to go. And I'm going to show you right quick doing this one. So I do one side at a time. I'm going to put glue here on this flap here. And I'll take my small finger on this because I don't want a lot of oozing in here to glue anything down. If you want to use score tape, you could. So I just spread that out with my little finger. I take the top piece here and I'm going to make sure and line up the end of it to the fold of this bottom piece here. Make sure my edges line up, top and bottom. Burnish that. Flip it over and give it a burnish. Then we're going to glue this to this next one. Same way. Some glue on that. I'm going to spread it out so I don't have a lot of oozing. My fingers off a little bit. Here we go. Now press this down. And you just have to make sure you're lining it up even on the ends. Top, bottom, and the edges. Right there. Now you're going to see a little bit of bowing on that one side, just a tiny bit, and I just take it and burnish it out. That's what's going to make it fit on the page, and kind of smooth that out. Okay, so if you see that, so now we're ready to start working on each page set for our album. For page set 1, you're going to take one full 12 by 12 sheet and then look in your scraps for the others. You should be able to have pieces big enough to cut some of these out of some of your scraps without cutting into a new sheet. So on page 1A, the front, because this is close to the cover of the spine, we're not putting a lot of flaps or pockets. I'm just going to put one, what I call a photo pocket, a photo mat pocket, so that you could put a photo on the front and maybe a tag in the back or something without causing a lot of thickness. So we're going to do that, and then we'll put some elements on the back side. So from your cardstock, you're going to cut one that is 5 3/4 by 7 1/4, and you're going to cut one that is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, one that is 3 1/2 by 9 1/2, and one that is 4 1/2 by 7. So I'm going to lay this over here, and we're going to score this. This one I've already scored, but I'll do it again. You take your 5 3/4 by 7 1/4. This is for, I labeled it page 1A. This is going the front side. So put your 5 3/4 in at the top, score at your 1/2 inch and at your 5 1/4. Turn, score on your 7 1/4 inch side at a 1/2 inch. This will make a pocket, so go ahead and angle cut that where those intersect on the bottom. So you have that done, and we'll burnish that in a minute. We'll set that aside. I labeled this one page 1B. This will be the flap. This is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. We're going to put the 5 1/2 in at the top, and we're just going to score at a 1/2 inch. And I'm going to go ahead and just do a slight miter cut on that 1/2 inch from the score line in, like that. Okay. Take your 3 1/2 by 9 1/2, and we're going to score a 1/2 inch on 3 sides. So that would be the long side. So score on your 9 inch side at a 1/2 inch, or your 9 1/2 inch side, and at 9. And then turn and score on your 3 1/2 inch side just at a 1/2 inch. So this makes one long pocket like that. Go ahead and cut at an angle here and here for that pocket. So you score on the long side and 2 short sides. Then you take your final one, the 4 1/2 by 7, scoring on 3 sides. We're going to score on the 2 short sides and 1 long. So score at on your 7 inch side at 1/2 inch. Double check and make sure. Yes, your 1/2 inch and 6.5, and then turn, and on your short side, score at just a 1/2 inch, and that makes another pocket. So we're going to angle cut those and move our scoreboard out of the way so we can assemble this on page 1. So we take page 1. This will be your top and your bottom. These are your sides here. And on the front page, we're not going to attach this down just yet because we need to put our pattern paper on. But we're going to go ahead and fold and burnish our score lines to make this photo mat pocket. Make sure that we're not oversecting here on the bottom. I'm going to turn them over and burnish it again on the top side. So this is going to fit right here on the front once we put our pattern paper on. So I am just going to clip this on for now so I know where it goes. Actually, I'm going to wait until I do the back side, so I'm going to lay this aside. So I'm going to flip this over. Doesn't matter which side. We're going to take our one that's labeled page 1B, and we're going to fold and burnish the score lines. This makes a flap, which is going to go on the left side. This will be the hinge side. This is going to go right here. So let's glue that on. Right along the cut edge here. Make sure it lines up top and bottom. And this is a flap. Open it up, wipe off any glue, and then burnish that down. Okay, so we have it open like this. So we're going to take this long pocket, we're going to fold and burnish the score lines on it. And this is going to go inside here on this flap like that. Let's go ahead and fold and burnish this one. This one should fit right in here on the bottom. So let's go ahead and glue these in. So we have our flap open. We're just going to put glue on this. The fold of the pocket goes on the flap along the fold line. Make sure the fold here matches the bottom, and this fold line matches along the top, and then we burnish that on. Okay, that gives us a pocket here on the inside of the flap. Just making sure it's still closed. This opens up, and this pocket will fit down here at the bottom. So glue on the flaps on the back. Make sure the fold here on the right goes along the cut edge. The fold on the bottom goes along the bottom. And this goes here without going into the fold. Okay, right here, burnish. Okay, that's the back side of page 1A. And then this will fold down here. And we'll put a magnet if you want to, or a swing tab. Just make sure my glue's all cleaned off. Then we flip this back over. So this is good. This is the inside here, the hinge piece. So we flip this away. So we have the top here, and we know that this is going to go right here. So I'm going to clip that on. And now we're ready to move on to page 2. For page 2, you need 2 sheets of the 12 by 12 cardstock. And you're going to cut for the front side, page 2A, you're going to cut one that's 5.5 by 12 and one that's 4.5 by 10. And then for 2B, you need to cut one that is 6.5 by 12 and 2 pieces that are 1 by 3. So we're going to score these first. So let's do 2A. So you take your 4.5 by 10, put your 10-inch side at the top, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch and 7.5. And then we're going to take the 5.5 inch piece by 12, put your 12-inch at the top. We're going to score at 8.5. At 8.5. Then we're going to turn it and score the 5.5 inch side at 1/2 inch. Then you want the small part here on the bottom. So that is page 2A. Then for 2B, we're just going to score this one 6.5 inch by 12 inch piece. Put the 12 inch in at the top and score at 4 and 8. Turn and score the, no, that's all. Sorry. Just score the 12-inch side at 4 and 8 on that, and the little pieces don't need scoring. Okay, so set that aside. Let's move the scoreboard and grab another base page. So again, we have it open here on the sides. And we're going to take 12A first. I mean 2A. Tap 12A. And we're going to fold our score lines and burnish. This one's going to fold up like that. Flip it over and burnish the back side, so make sure it folds down good. So there's that piece that's going to go in there. This one we're going to score, but first let's take here where you see the little 1/2 inch score line where this line goes all the way across here. We're going to cut out that score line like a V, like we did before on our inside cover. So now we have that. We're going to fold this flap back and burnish. That's a hinge. And then this is going to fold in and burnish. And this will fold up to create a, what did I call that? A insert pocket. I couldn't think there for a minute what I called my own. Anyway, where it's open on top and one side. So it's going to be like that. Make sure that it's not over that fold line though. Let me glue that down. So this is going to be on 2A. I think I want it done to the inside. So I'm going to flip everything backwards. So let me show you real quick. Just reverse all your folds so that this is to the inside and this is going to touch down on the front like that. So we have the hinge here And then we have this one here on the inside. So it's going to go on the front like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue this one. Now let's make sure that it's going to catch correctly here on the inside. We don't want it into the fold of the hinge. Okay, so put your glue on there. Back in there. And make sure it's not going into the fold of the hinge. And burnish. Now then take your page. This is the front side, and I'm going to mark this here flap as page 2A so that when I'm patterning my paper and putting my everything on, I know which direction it is. So this is going to fit right along here. Okay, so we flip it over like this. We put our glue on the hinge. And just if I've got too much, I'm just going to spread it out some with my little finger. And then I'm going to line the fold of the flap right along the edge of my page. Make sure it's even down here at the bottom and the top, and burnish that down. Open that up. Okay, so there's that flap, and then we open this up. Next, we're going to put this in. So let's see where we want to put this. It's just going to, it's a flap. It's going to attach up here at the top. And I want it within here. So if I put it right up against that 1/2 inch space there, that will work. Okay, so just put your glue on the top flap. And I'm going to butt this up right up the left edge of this flap to that 1/2 inch. Line it up and get it nice and straight right up here at the top, right along the top edge of the page. So if you have to slide it just a tiny bit, do that. Get it up there. Check it, make sure it's not sticking out or anything. Lift it up and go ahead and burnish. So that's right there, under there, that is page 2A. Then we flip it over like this. Now then, this one here, we're not ready to put it on yet until we put our pattern paper, but we're going to go ahead and fold and burnish our score lines. This, fold it and burnish so that you have like a Z accordion type thing here. So this is going to go in here. These two go with it. So I'm just going to take my paper clip and attach these together. So we don't lose them. I'm going to write here page 2B because I want to make sure I can see that and it's nothing's going on upside down. I'm going to do the pattern paper. So there's page 2. So now we're ready for page 3. For page 3, take 2 sheets of 12 by 12 cardstock. You're going to cut for the front. For 3A, you're going to cut one that is 6 by 12 and 2 that are 6 by 8. And then you're going to cut one that is 4 by 7. Okay, so let's do this one first. Just take our one 6 by 12, put the 12 inch at the top, and we're going to score at a 1/2 inch and at 9. Okay. Then we're going to take the two 6 by 8.5. We're going to put our 8.5 inch side in at the top. We're going to score at 4 and 8. Turn so that this 1/2 inch is at the bottom and score your 6 inch side at a 1/2 inch. So we're going to do both the same. Put this in, score at 4 and 8. Turn so that this 1/2 inch is down at the bottom and make another 1/2 inch score. So they both look the same. So that is for the 3A. And then this piece here, your 4 by 7 for page 3B, score your 7 inch side at a 1/2, 6 1/2, turn and score the 4 inch side at just a 1/2 inch. Okay, go ahead and angle cut those because that's going to be a pocket. I'm going to move the school board out of the way. I'm going to label this one page 3B. Okay, and then take these other two others and we're going to fold our score lines and burnish. This is for the front page. And this is going to go down at the bottom. This folds in. So they both fold the same direction on your page front of your book. This is going to go here like this. So I'm going to write on this one page 3A. So another direction for that. And then for these, we're going to cut out, I'm thinking here, I'm going to make this a pocket, this right quick. Okay, I'm going to angle cut this on both of them right here. And then I'm going to cut out this little line up to the 1/2 inch on each one like a V. Okay, so we'll dispose of that, scraps. And then we're going to fold and burnish our score lines. This one I may have to reverse it. I'm just going to go ahead and score them up right now. Until I see which way I want it to go. I want it to go in on this page. Fold this in half. Okay, so let's take a look at this. This is going to become a pocket, and this is our hinge. So I'm going to go ahead and angle cut right here and right here a little bit. So each little 1/2 inch hinge has a angle cut. Okay. All right. Just a matter of thinking here. So let's put this one flap on first. So this is going to go here on the front. So this goes on the bottom with that 1/2 inch hinge, and this folds under here at the top. So I'm going to take my glue right here. Whoops, too much. First it wasn't coming out, and now it's too much. You spread that out some. Wipe that off. Clean off my fingers. Now then, flip this over, and along the fold of the 1/2 inch goes along the bottom fold of the page. Make sure they're lining up right along the bottom. And make sure it is lined up side to side. So burnish that. Okay, that becomes a flap from the bottom, like this. So this is the top of our page. This is like this. Okay, now then, these guys, I'm going to turn this into a pocket, like that. So glue right along these two here. And fold it up on itself so that you have a 1/2 inch sticking out, and these are lined up. Let's move this one out of the way right quick so I can burnish along here and along the top where they're joined together. Makes a sleeve flip pocket like that. So this one's going to be the same. Turn it. Need to reverse these. I knew one of them I had to reverse the folds. Go. So do you want these two on the inside here? So these are going to fold up right there, and then we have the flap sticking out. So we put our glue on. Fold these in. Make sure they're lining up right. Burnish. Okay, now we have the two hinges that stick out right there. So grab our page again. So we have the flap on the bottom. Open this up. And these are going to attach to the right, one on the top and one on the bottom, and there should be space between them. Now then you can move them in closer if you want more space here and here. I'm going to flip this back a minute so I can work with that. See how I want it. I think I like the space in the middle. So I'm going to put glue on the back of this hinge there. And on the right side of the page, I'm going to line this one up, the hinge of this pocket with the right side. Make sure it's straight here at the top. I'm just going to burnish that down. Open it up. Clean off my glue and burnish this really well right there. So that one lays in like that. Just making sure it's straight with our page. Okay, now this one's going to go at the bottom down here. A little bit of a snag there. Cut that off. So the hinge on this with the glue. So your opening of your flaps are both on the same end. And then this one goes down to here. Line it up. Open it up. Burnish it. Okay, so now when we open this back up, this page, this goes over it just like that. So we'll have a magnet or closure here. So this flips down, and then we have these that flip up. Okay, now then I'm going to flip it over so I've got it labeled so I can see the right direction. So this is the back side. So this is just a standard pocket. So burnish those fold lines. This is going to fit right here at the bottom of the page. Okay, so glue. And make sure that it lines up at the very bottom and along the edge. Okay, and burnish. And that creates a pocket on that page right there. Of course, we've got where our sleeve goes on our page, and then this one flops down. So I'm going to put a paper clip on this for right now to kind of hold that shut. Okay, page 3, we're ready to move on to page 4. For page 4, you need one piece of cardstock and the 12 by 12, and you should have a piece that you can cut this one from out of scraps, so check that. Otherwise, you'll need a second piece of 12 by 12. So you're going to cut one piece. It's 5.5 by 6.5. We're going to set that aside. That's for 4A. And then we're going to cut for page 4B. We're going to cut one that is 8 by 12, and then we're going to do an angle cut on the 12-inch side. So we're going to mark this down here on the side, put a tick mark at 3 3/4. So put your ruler up here, get it straight, and let's put a mark right here at 3 3/4. Now we're going to cut at an angle. Oops, from that mark right there all the way across. So I think I'm going to do that with my trimmer. You can use a craft knife. My ruler's not quite long enough. I almost have it long enough. But I'm going to grab my trimmer, move this mat out of the way. Okay, so we're going to line this up from the point here to that mark that I made. I can't quite see it on this dark here. Let's mark it again right there. So from the point to that mark, just like that. This that's a scrap. So now we have a piece that looks like that, okay? So now we need this full board. And we're going to score our 12-inch side, this in at the top, the 12-inch at the top, and we're going to score at 6. Then we're going to turn to the 8-inch side, and on the longest side here remaining, we're going to score at a 1/2 inch, just like that. Okay. Now then take your piece for page 4A, your 5.5 by 6.5. We're going to score our 5.5 inch side at a 1/2 inch. Turn and score your 6.5 inch side at a 1/2 inch. Okay, so that's the scoring for page 4. Right here, let's take our scissors. We're going to angle cut across the intersection. And I'm going to go ahead and make a little angle cut right here. Let's fold this up and burnish. And I'm going to mark this as 4A. Okay, so that's going to be one of those insert pockets. Page 4A. This is going to go on the bottom. Okay, put that right there. And then we're going to grab this And we're going to go ahead and fold these lines. And then we're going to cut. So we're going to cut out right here a V where that little, where the score line is, up to the 1/2 inch to make that notch like that. Go ahead and cut a little angle here on the ends as well. Now then, fold up. You have it laying like this. Fold this one in and this one back. And we're going to put glue on this one. Fold it in and attach it down here at the bottom, right there on that fold line, and burnish. Once it's on there, it's going to be an insert pocket with an angle like that. And then we have the flap here. So let's set that aside. Let's get our page. On this one, I'm going to write page 4B because this is the top. Okay. Now then, let's take this pocket and our page. This is going to go on right here on the corner. Insert pocket. So we're going to put glue on the 1/2 inches on the back. And let's go ahead and put this down on the bottom of the page, right along the edge, right along the bottom here. Make sure it doesn't go over too far. Okay, burnish it. So that makes you an insert pocket there. And I've got the right direction here. Flip this over, and this one attaches to the bottom. It becomes a flip like that. So we put the glue on the back. This goes down right along the edge. Make sure it fits in with the page here, and here. Okay, and burnish. Let's open it up, drop down, and burnish in here and wipe off that excess glue. Okay, so that is page 4, 4A and 4B. And we'll be working on the 5th and last page next. For page 5, you're going to need another full sheet of 12 by 12 and some scraps if you have them to cut these 2 pieces here. I was able to find some for mine, so I think you probably will be able to. If not, you'll have to cut into another sheet, but I'm putting down just one and then scraps for that. So for page 5A, we need to cut the full sheet of cardstock. I cut first, though I have it wrote second, 5 by 12. So you need a 5 by 12, and then you're going to need a 6 by 8, and then you will need a 3 by 5. And then for page 5B, you need the 2 3.5 by 7 that I was able to cut out of some scraps. So let's do our scoring. So we'll start with this one, which is the second one on the list right here. We're going to score our 5 by 12. We'll put the 12 inch at the top, and we're just going to score at 6 inches. And then we're going to turn it and score our 5 inch side at a 1/2. And 4.5. Okay, so there's that. Then we need to take the 6 by 8 and take our 8 inch side at the top and score it a 1/2 inch. Then turn, and I'm putting the score down at the bottom. I think that's going to work. Either way, we can flip it if we have to. Score at 1/2 inch because it's just going to be a pocket, so it's no big deal. And 5.5. So there we got that, like that. Then the little piece, the 3 by 5, score our 5-inch side at a 1/2 inch and at 4. And then we're going to turn and score the 3-inch side at a 1/2 inch. This makes a little pocket. Did I score this right? I think I messed this one up. So hang on. Okay, I did write that down wrong. I corrected it here. It's 4.5. So we score it. Our 3-inch side at a 1/2 inch. Turn it, and on our 5-inch side, score at 1/2 inch and 4.5 to make that pocket. So I have this extra score line right here, but I was able to rub most of it out, and it will be covered up. Okay, so that is correct there. Then on our 5B side, our 3.5 by 7, we're going to score our 3.5 inch side at a 1/2 inch. Turn and score the 7-inch side at a 1/2 and 6.5. And we'll do the same on this piece, 1/2 inch on our 3.5 inch side. Turn it and score our 7-inch side at a 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and 6.5. Okay, so I'm going to put my scoreboard up, and we'll start cutting and trimming this. So these 2 pockets here, we're going to angle cut just like this at the corners. Let's go ahead and fold and burnish. Now these are going to make a stacked pocket on the last page, which I think will be okay, even though we don't have a gusset between the cover and the last page. These will not be for real thick embellishments. We'll just, put photo mats or pictures in there. So we're going to fold this. So these are ready for the page 5B. So I am going to write, there's my pen, there it is, page 5B on one of these. So go at the bottom of the page, and they will go like this. Although I folded this one, I'm going to open it back up. It will insert inside the pocket right here. Okay, and that will make a double stacked pocket. So we'll set that aside, and let's go ahead and do this one. We angle cut these because these are pockets. Fold and burnish. Check and see if we need just a little more trimmed on this one. Okay, and then this side. Okay, I'm going to turn it over and burnish again. And this one here is another little pocket, so we angle cut. Make sure I'm not folding on the wrong score line. And like that. It's a little pocket there. Should I rub that out pretty good. Okay, so there's a little pocket. And then for this one, we're going to do some cutting. So for this one here in the center, just cut a V where the little, right in the center up to the 1/2 inch on each side. So you have it like that. This is going to fold in half here. Okay, and then we're going to open this up, and we're going to take out one section here. So I'm just going to cut right along the score line. Now you could use your trimmer or a craft knife too to cut this to get it really straight. Sometimes I'm not great at getting it completely straight, but I'll straighten this up a little bit here. So it's going to fold up like that. So let me get this scraps out of the way, and I'll show you how to put this together, what we're going to do for this. So we have it like this. These that have the two at the top, we're going to fold them under and burnish. And then this one here is going to come in like this, and go ahead and burnish that, because we're going to bring this one up and seal this off. So this is a flap, and this is the pocket here. Now this one, because of the way it's made, let's go ahead and put a notch with a circle punch. Got the 1 inch here, and I'm just going to center it and take a notch out so that it's got a hole here, thumb notch, where we can grab a hold of that. Now we're going to go ahead and take our glue and seal this one up and have it ready to go on the page. Just like this, bring it up along that fold line there and make sure it's along the edge here, and burnish both sides. Okay, so we've got us a pocket here, a little nib here I want to cut off. Okay, so that's for the front, and this is for the back of our last page, which is page 5. So we'll do 5A first. So make sure that the notch here is on the front, and this is going to glue on the right side of page 5A, right here on the right. I'm just going to center it, so I'm going to put my glue on my 1/2 inch flap. Okay, this is going to center right along the edge, about right there. Whoops, don't let it slip while you're burnishing it. Make sure it stays in place. Open it up so that you can get it in here and wipe off that glue. Burnish. Now this little pocket is going to go right here on the top of this flap. So it fits just perfectly there. We're going to put glue on all 3 flaps. And make sure it fits here on the side and the bottom. It fits nicely right there. We're going to burnish that. Wipe off the glue. Okay. So there's that little pocket. Now this one is going to go here, but again, it's going to have to wait until the pattern paper is down. So I'm going to just set it aside, flip this over, and I'm going to write on here, page 5A. So we have our right direction. Flip this over. I'm going to take one of these, the one that I wrote page 5B on, and this is going to go right down here. So glue on all 3 of the flaps. Put it down, make sure it lines up. Wipe off any glue there on the bottom that's might be oozing out. Make sure you burnish really well. Okay, now this stack pocket is going to slip in here. Just like that. Now, You can either just glue the two sides and leave this open so a longer tag can go in, or if you want to put glue on this back side and make it for shorter. I'm going to leave it open. So if I want probably a bigger photo mat going in there, I can. So I'm just going to put glue on the flaps. And then I'm going to insert this into this pocket and make sure I line it up and stop it where the hinge is to get it straight. There we go. Didn't have it straight. A little here. Lift it up. That's straight. 2.5. 2.5, yeah. And then burnish those sides down. So that this is a pocket, but it's a deep pocket, and this is your short pocket. Okay. And then this goes back again here, and I'm going to clip that on there. And now we're ready to start working on putting our pattern paper on. I am not going to be showing all of it. I'm going to just show where I need to show you where we need to add these that are not attached yet, and then also where I'm going to put any kind of closures for these. So there's one other thing that I want to do right quick. Let's see, this is 4B, 5A, and B. Okay, so we've got all my pages stacked up, I'm ready to go. I'm going to grab my cover. Now I have already tested on mine. I normally don't cut these until I'm ready to put pages on, because sometimes they don't need cut at all. This particular one, they are going to need to be cut. Let me get a smaller scissor here. From about 1/8 of an inch from the base. I'm going to put a pair of scissors like this and just do an angle cut. So I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch of it still squared up. So I'm just doing an angle like this. I'm going to turn it around, do it the other way. This is so I can easily get my pages on. And again, I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch right here, not cut. So put my blade 1/8 of an inch up from the base and just cut that top corner off. It's a little more, because I'm not going to be pushing the pages all the way down on that page. So there we go. So now those are ready for when we start putting the pages in. I'm going to start looking at my pattern papers, pick them out and cut them, and then I will show you assembly of the ones that need it, and then the rest I'll be gluing down off camera, because I know you will want to do your pages in the pattern papers from the collection or whatever collection you're using that you like. I think I have all my patterned paper cut and different pieces ready to go here in my book. So of course this is a personal choice for yourself, what patterns you want where and what size border you want. And what I do is I typically cut to make it 1/8 of an inch border all the way around, which means cut it 1/4 of an inch shorter on this particular album. Sometimes I do even more narrow margins, and I will cut 1/8 of an inch smaller than the height and the width, and have a 1/16 of an inch border. But for this one, I'm doing 1/8 of an inch border, which means I cut it 1/4 inch shorter height and width. So you do what you like, what you prefer for your projects. So I have everything labeled here. What I'm going to do is most of this I'll be doing off camera. I'll glue down things that are pretty self-explanatory, but where I need to show you, like attaching this pocket, then I will do that on camera. So I'm going to pause right now. I'm going to glue down my mats for this first page here on the base, and then I will come back and show you putting this pocket on. Okay, so this is page 1A, the front. So I did an orange mat with the leaves here. This is the photo mat pocket. So it is a pocket. You could put extra photos in if you wanted to, or a letter or something. This is going to fit on right here. I did punch the corners on this mat here. So it's orange and then the plaid. And when you use these corners and you very lightly glue it at the top, when you put it down, go back with a piece of cardstock and make sure that each corner is open, that you can insert a corner in there just like this, like I'm doing here. So sometimes you have to work with it to make sure that nothing's glued down, and just go ahead and open that up so that when you do put a photo in there, it will go in those corner mats. So this is going to glue right here with the top opening at the top. So I'll put my glue here on my 1/2 inch flaps on the back of this pocket. And this is page 1A. This is the front that I didn't want real thick with any flaps or anything. So I'm just positioning, centering this right here, kind of down more towards the bottom, more space here at the top. I'm going to go ahead and burnish that when it looks straight and centered to me. Burnish all 3 sides of this pocket here on this first page, just like that. Okay, so there is page 1A. I'm going to put my label there so that I know what order it goes in. So this flips over here. So I'm not doing double mats now. I put a mat here on this flap, and I patterned the pockets right here, and then I put a mat on this pocket. So this one's not matted yet because I wanted to do a magnet closure. So I wanted this to stick out. So I punched, this is one of the tags, circle tags. I punched a 2-inch, yeah, it was a 2-inch scallop punch out of the olive cardstock. I put my magnet on the back, and then the opposite magnet here on this side. So it's going to fit like that. Okay. So I also cut another scallop to cover this magnet. So it's important that it is sandwiched between 2 pieces of paper. So I'm going to go ahead and put my glue on this piece. Make sure I've got the glue. And then sandwich this on there to line up those scallop pieces the best that I can. Kind of slide them around before it dries. Okay. Rub that in, burnish that down. So this is the front side, and the magnet's in here, so I'm going to let it find itself right there. So I know that my glue has got to go on this side here. I may have to adjust it some and let that magnet catch again, and get that glue on there. Wipe off any excess glue that may have oozed in there, and that looks pretty good right there. So it's patterned on the back with some of that floral, and that closes there and lifts up like that. So now that we have that on, we can put this photo mat or patterned paper into the pocket and glue that in and finish this page off. So I'm just put the glue on the back, and you will see this boot and suitcase somewhere else in this project. So don't panic that I have used it as the back side. I'm going to go ahead and slide that in. Line it up right there, and burnish that in, and really burnish well over that magnet. So you want to stick down there on the sides. So now the magnet is covered. It's not going to hinder anything that goes in the pocket, and that closes down and keeps that flap closed. So if you put a tag in there, you'll put it to the side where the magnet's still able to catch. So that is page set 1. So we're going to set that aside with the album cover and then move on to the next one, and I'll be back with that. For page 2A on the front side, remember I told you we would have the boot in the suitcase. So what I did is I cut it to fit this flap, the width here, which cut off some of it, and then I saved that little bit to go on this mat on the back side. So you open this up, we have the bicycles here in this section. We have this insert pocket, which you can leave as an insert pocket, or you can put glue. I'm going to leave it as an insert pocket that's open on 2 sides. Then I glued this, used my scallop punch and made this piece for right here. I may add more to that. This has been patterned as well as this, but this piece here will become a pocket. So all you do is put glue on the 2 short sides once you've added your patterned paper. So you don't need to pattern the inside here. And then close this up and burnish this to seal this pocket up. So we're going to have a pocket right here. Well, we do have a pocket there. There we go. For mats, just like that. Now we need a swing tab. So I took this tag with the books, I matted it to orange, and then I matted it to the olive green. Of course, I fussy cut around it. I punched a hole. Now, what I wanted lift on this because of this flap here. If I have it just flat down, it's going to be funny. So I punched with my little what is this, 1/2 inch circle punch, 3 cardstock circles, punched a hole in it, and glued that to the back of this tag, and then put my brad through. This is going to attach onto this inner piece here before we actually well, actually, what I'm going to do is I found with the first one that I think it is better to go all the way through the page. So I'm going to go ahead and mat this down, and I'll show you what I do to protect the brad behind it. I found if it just goes through the patterned paper like I did on the other one, and I had to make an adjustment, it can start pulling out, and I didn't like that. I want to make sure it's really secure. So let me mat this down, and we have this where it kind of lines up like that. So we burnish that. Okay, now then, the swing tag, you can put it wherever you want, on top of the books, above the books. I kind of like it right above. So I am going to put it about right here. I'm going to take me a pen. I'm going to mark me a little dot right there. Now I'm not going to punch the hole. I'm just going to try to poke it through the cardstock page, just the first one, into that sleeve portion right here. So this, poke a hole. Just be careful with your fingers and get it all the way through. There we go. Now then, the brad should be able to go through that. I'm going to open the prongs up. Oh, I thought I had glued that on. I'm going to glue this on. I want to make sure it stays. So this is the little lift piece that I made. So it's got a hole in it. It's just 3 cardstock circles stuck together to kind of give that lift on this side to match this over here. And my brad is a little yellow gold brad with a leaf, fall leaf in it. I've had it in my stash forever, I'm positive. It's been forever. So now let's put the brad prongs through where we poked our hole. Open it up on the inside here. I know you can't see me opening it up because there's no way to show you that really in there, but can you see I'm opening up the prongs pressing them really good, taking my bone folder, press on that. I want it stuck down really, really well. Now we have it. It's got the proper lift to accommodate for this. And so it swings completely off so you can open up the inside of this page. Now though, when we insert something in here, we've got some prongs in here. So I just take a scrap of paper, cut me off a piece about 1 inch, and I usually use the cardstock, and I'm just going to glue that right over. You can also put tape if you want to secure it some, but I'm going to just glue this paper right over it. It should work just fine. So I'm going to get this on there. And the reason I do 1 inch is to make sure there's plenty of coverage in there. Don't normally like putting anything on the inside of a sleeve where something's going to be sliding in, but if you'll burnish it really well, having that paper over that will work a whole lot better than having just the brad. And I do want that swing closure, so that will work just fine in there. So the front of page 2 is done, so I'll put my label there, page 2A. So there's the swing tab. That opens up. Have a pocket here, or a side insert. Pocket here. Flips open here. We have places for journaling and photos here. So this side is done. Then we flip it over. I put a goldenrod, my colors matte, and then this piece here. So what goes on this section is this one that was the fold out. So what I've done is I took the part of the truck that I didn't use for other areas because I had to split things up. So I cut it to fit, starting from here and moving on so that we'd have the continuation of the truck. Use the goldenrod here and put an X on this when you fold it up like this. Make sure you're folding it like that. This side gets nothing because that glues down. This side I patterned with this. Okay, and then we do need a closure on this because see, it will pop up from both sides. So before we attach it down, those 2 little pieces that I had you cut and set aside, they were 3 inches by 1. You had 2 that are 3 inches by 1. On one end on each, didn't show you in the video, but you do score it a 1/2 inch on each one, and then I used a 1/4 inch corner rounder. I matted with the goldenrod and some of the scraps, and then I just put goldenrod on the back side. So this is going to fit and glue onto the back here. Okay, and I think I'm going to put it kind of right there over this split. So I'm going to put glue on the back side of this little 1/2 inch hinge. And we're going to lay this over the booklet, put the fold on the right, and glue the back side down. Okay, just like that. Then we want this one to lap over and match. So it's going to go on the left side to the back. So glue that little hingey thing, line it up. Make sure we line up this piece here in the front. Press down our little tab on the back and then wipe off the glue, burnish it down. Double check and make sure nothing moved and it still lines up. So now you're like, but that flops up. Do we put a magnet? Well, you could. Let me wipe this glue out in here. Don't want that. Still want it to fold out. So double check that. Make sure if you have any glue that's oozed in there, you don't want your booklet to glue shut. So let me check this one here. Whoops. That one's okay. All right. Let me make sure it's still staying lined up. And no glue where we fold it out. Right here. And right there. Okay. So we're going to make like a little belt thingy if I haven't lost it. So hang on just a second. Got to find my little piece of paper. So I grabbed a scrap. This is patterned paper. This is purple plaid on this side and print pumpkins on the other side. I'm going to use the purple plaid. And it's just a scrap because I'm going to be cutting it with my scissors, but it's about a quarter of an inch, and it's a little over 3 inches long. Now this is going to wrap around, and it's got to be positioned so that this tab catches it right there. Okay. So I want to hold it there. I'm going to hold it on this one and lift up, and I'm going to fold it back here, and I'm going to put a little glue on this end. I'm going to glue that on so I've got my position, and then I'm going to bring this around. I don't want it too tight, but we want to catch it. So I'm going to cut off what I don't need. This is kind of like a belt, one of those things that you catch on a belt. I don't know what you call them, but you know, where your end of your belt goes into. So I'm going to kind of make sure it's a little loose right there and glue the back side down and let that dry a minute. So we have this little piece here that's going to hold. So you need to let that dry, and then this is going to feed into that. And if you need to slide it before it's dry, I think I'm going to move it over. Didn't put it down far enough. It's attached pretty good, but we're going to move it. Let's see, yeah, I think that's the direction I need it to be. Hope so. Cut that off. Okay. Gotta make sure it stays, so I'm gonna have to add a little more glue to it because it had dried. Okay. Right there. Our glue on the back. Let's pull that off there. Where my was attached. Wipe that off. So there's that piece there. Now then, let's see. Did I? Oh, I moved it the wrong way, guys. Okay. It's got to go further out to the end of this one. Once you have your fastener in place where it needs to be and secured on the back, and then go ahead and cut some pattern paper to go over the inside of your pieces here. So just got 2 that I cut. I think they're 3/4 wide by 2 1/8 long. So I'm just going to glue these over this right here just to finish it off. And then also on this one. Okay, so once we have it on there, we just close it in. And now we're ready to attach this onto the page. So you can either center it. I'm going to drop it down so that I can see more of this up here. And then you just put glue on the entire back piece that you did not add patterned paper to, and that I had marked with an X to make sure that I did not put anything on there. Put a good amount of glue here to secure it onto the page. Okay, and then let's just make sure we're putting it the correct side up. And I'm just going to center it side to side. Make sure I get it on straight. Then I'm going to open it up and unfold it so that I can burnish it really well here on the inside. And that's what it looks like opened. And then this way. Now this color is more of a gold color than on my camera. It looks really yellow in the camera, but it's more of a fall gold color. And so then we put this down just like that. So there is page 2A and 2B. On page 3, on the front side, I decided rather than having this flap here and turn it into a pocket where things would probably fall out once it's flipped up, that I would reverse this and create a journaling place or count your blessings spot where you could do some journaling. So I matted this on the gold, and then I added this piece here. So this comes down. This hidden page comes down with this pattern here. These are those pockets, tag pockets like this. So we have place for photos or journaling here. Then we have this solid gold. Now, this hidden page and this pocket I want to hold down with a magnet closure. So what I'm going to do is, from a scrap of cardstock, I took a piece that was 2.5 and cut down 2 pieces that are 5.5. And I'm going to score the 5.5 inch side on each of these at a 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to skip over and score at 5/8 to give me that little 1/8 of an inch space for it wrapping around the page. Okay, so we got that. So that was not planned at first when I was doing my cutting. Now then, this fold on both lines so that you end up having that little 1/8 of an inch spacer there that will fit like that on both of these. And I think I am going to stub punch the 2 ends on both of these. Okay, so now these are going to attach on the page 3B on the back side. I have nothing on here yet, so that I could attach one here at the top like that. Okay, and then one on the pocket on the back like that. And then they kind of overlap a little bit for a small magnet. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue that down. So here, just on the 1/2 inch section, don't get any glue in your little 1/8 of an inch. And of course you want that on the inside here so that we're putting it here at the top. I'm going to center it. Make sure I'm not getting glue on my page though. Okay, the 1/2 inch. I'm going to center it pretty as good as I can. I mean, you can take a ruler and do all your measuring if you want. I think I'm okay with that, like that. Burnish that down. Okay, I'm going to open this up, make sure I didn't get any glue here in these pages here, and let that dry. Okay, now then we want this to match up down here. Okay, so it did need to be moved over. My centering was not perfect. So I still have a little bit of time. I can put a little more glue on it, and I'm going to move it over. So if you see that it's not quite right, because this is going to be covered by pattern paper, so we're good. So I'm going to look at it from this side. Okay, so that's better. I think it was right in the first place. Maybe just a little bit over. How about that? Okay, I'm going with it. I like it like that. So burnish that down. Then we're going to line this up. So I'm going to go ahead and put my glue on the 1/2 inch of this piece. Line it up here on the front and make sure it hooks where it's even on the back side. So you have to move it just a little bit, do that. I'll move it down, there we go. Okay, so that is attached there. I'm going to double check. Make sure everything is lining up right. Okay, it looks pretty good. Just burnish that. I'm going to clean off any glue that I have oozing out here at the bottom. Don't want that glued shut. I want it to be a flap. Okay. Because of the thickness, it has a little more where it catches there. So let's make sure. Okay, so now all we need to do is a magnet. So I'm going to use my little magnets and I'll go ahead and put them on. I'll put one here and then one on this, and this will hold it closed. So I put your magnet here and then the opposite one here on the front of this one so that they attach like that. So this one's going to get covered up here like this with just the goldenrod cardstock. Okay, and then burnish that really well over the magnet. Get my bone folder. There. So there's that one. And then this one has the pumpkins on the pattern that matches this. So this goes right here. Need to move my tape just a little bit so we don't see it. Okay, it goes right there. And I had debated about putting this on there, but I really like this pattern paper with the pumpkins and the sunflower on it. So I don't know yet. Let's see. If I did, it would go in there and it would take away from that image, or it could go here, go right there. I think I like that. I'm going to put that down there. Harvest your blessings. Oops. Down here on the bottom. Okay. Now then, page set 3 is done. This is 3A. So again, it lifts up with a magnet closure. This lifts up for a place for some journaling. Then this you pull down, you have your hidden pages, you have this area here, and you have these flaps here where you can add some tags or photos in there. So that all closes up just like that, nice and neat. And then you flip it over for the back side and we have this pocket, and I patterned it in this sweater and floral piece. So this side is 3A. And next we're ready to go on to page set. Page set 4 is really simple. On the front on page 4A, it's just a matter of adding your patterned paper. So I've done this one with the bicycle. So this is an insert pocket. I did a belly band with scrap of the olive cardstock and added a scrap of this paper. So it is a belly band. I just glued it on each end after I matted the goldenrod mat. And then on the back side, so let me put this here so I know which side it is. On the back side on these angled pockets, It's just really easy. This top one, you just mat so that's covered underneath. This one, I cut it the height that I needed it and the width, and then I laid it on here and put a tick mark and just did an angle cut. You can see that with my trimmer, and I did the same here. I put a tick mark, and then I cut it from one point to the other at an angle and matted it down. Now what you do is you make this into a pocket by just adding glue to the sides here with a tall pocket. Real easy way to make an angle pocket like this. So this comes down, and we're going to burnish it all the way down. And then in here, we do the same. We just add glue to seal this edge off right there. And we burnish that. And since it's folded down here, it's already sealed on the bottom. So now we have a pocket here and a pocket here. And just make sure that here on your points, it has glued down good. So that is page set 4. And we're ready to go on to our last, which is number 5. For page 5A, the back side, we're going to do something a little different on 5A. The back side on 5B, you just need to mat into your pockets. You got your 3 pockets here on the back. So this is the front side. This is what was originally planned, was to have this pocket here, like we've done before, a really deep pocket, but I have decided I want this as a flap. So I'm going to show you what to do if you change your mind after you've designed something and you've made this into a pocket. You're just going to open this up, and I'm just going to cut. Now you can use your trimmer. I think I'll be able to use the trimmer. And you're going to cut off the bottom flap and the flap that you want off. You're going to keep one of them. So I'm keeping the one on the left, okay? So I'm just going to put this in. It should be about a 1/2 inch. If I line this up at a 1/2 inch here on the right of my trimmer and just slice that 1/2 inch off. So I'm turning this into a flap instead of a pocket. Now this one I don't have as much margin, so I'm just going to scoot it a little bit. In fact, I'm going to use my scissors because I don't want to make a mistake. I got my mat down a little close here on the bottom, so I'm just going to cut right along that with my scissors to make sure I don't catch my patterned paper. Okay, so I cut that off. So now I have a flap, and I will add patterned paper here to the back. So I have my flap here on the left side. Excuse me, I'm going to make a little miter cut here. Okay, so let's move this out of the way. Now then, I am going to attach this to the inside of my pattern paper that's cut for this flap here. I'm going to attach it right here, just like that. And I'm not putting this one pattern paper on yet because I'm going to add my swing tabs. So I'm going to put my glue here on the inside of my 1/2 inch. So sometimes, you've planned something a certain way, and then when you get to the point where you're finishing it up, you might decide that you would rather have a flap. Now I am going to put it just right on the edge. I'm not leaving any cardstock margin because this is going to glue down just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this one down along with this 1/2 inch tab here. And all the patterned paper to cover that section. So we're just going to go ahead and mat that down. There we go. And we're going to burnish that down. I'm going to open this up and make sure everything's burnished here on the inside and wipe off any excess glue. So that gives us more area for photos. So this is going to close down like this. So now this is where we put our swing tab. So I'm going to use the truck, and I matted it to the goldenrod cardstock, then to the olive. I have my brad that I have from my stash that has a little orange leaf in it. This does have a lift, so if I put it here, it would make this stick up. So I want it up a little bit. So I punch 3 little discs with my 1/2 inch circle punch, punched a hole in the center. I'm going to open this up, the brad, and I'm going to put a little glue around it to hold the circle. I'm going to put one on because they're not exact. It's fine. They're just going to cause some thickness here, and then some on the next, this one here. I'll wipe off all that excess glue here in just a moment. I'm just getting this stacked to give some lift around that brad. Okay. Right there like that. So press it together, and then I'm going to kind of wipe off all my excess glue that's kind of sticking out. And you're not going to see this back side, so don't worry about that. Now then, I want this down in this area so that I can still utilize this pocket. So I'm going to put a dot right about here on this basket of the bicycle. And then I'm going to take my pokey tool, open this up, and I'm going to poke all the way through this flap. And this is why we don't have our cardstock covered yet, our pattern paper on yet. We want to get that brad in there. And you can do it through the pattern paper, but I think it has more stability if it goes through cardstock, if at all possible. So now we're going to put it through. Feed it through that little hole, and I don't poke a hole with the hole punch because I want it to be as small as a hole as possible. I've got a lot of glue on my fingers I'm cleaning off. So excuse me for just a minute while I don't want to get my head in the way, try to get the brad through. Okay, so I had to take it off camera for just a second so that I could bring it up and you wouldn't be able to see it. So now we have it in there. We're going to open up these prongs. And a short right here. So we're just going to open these up. And you want to make sure they're open, both of them, not folded over on top of each other, but you've got both of them fanned out like that. Okay. And you press it in with something, make it really tight so that when this swings around, it holds it, and see that extra underneath it gives it just enough lift to make it kind of almost lay flat. So now I'm going to grab what I'm going to put on the back. I think it's going to be the goldenrod over here. So I'm going to get that cut and add that on. Okay, so there it is. It's glued on. That coloring really bothers me. Let me see if I can adjust it to show you. It's really goldenrod. That's a little better. That's goldenrod. It's not at that bright color. So anyway, there's the inside. That closes up. This closes down. This slides over. That is the front of page 5A. And we already have the back done. All our pages are done. Now we're going to put them into the album. So let me get that all prepped up, and we'll be adding our pages into our album cover. Now we're ready to put our pages in. We have 5-page sets that are going to go into these 5 hinges. I always start at the back. That's just my personal preference. You can do it 2 ways. You could use score tape, putting a strip of tape on each side of each hinge. Pull, situate, place your page on, and then pull the tape out and then pull the back tape. But I have found for me in my area that sometimes score tape will come loose, and I don't want my pages coming loose. So I'm going to go ahead and see. It's a little more tricky to do it with glue, but do it with the glue. Now, remember how we cut this at an angle so that the pages would fit, and I've already checked to make sure that they will fit. We have about 1/8 of an inch straight here and then our angle. you want to set your page so that it doesn't go all the way down. This is so that it will lay a little flatter. So we're going to keep that base of that page about 1/8 of an inch from the fold line of this hinge. Okay. So I'm going to take my glue, and this is when I say it's tricky because you've got to do both sides. So I'm going to put my glue just 1/8 of an inch, a line of glue from the base, maybe even more than 1/8 because you know glue will, and I can't do it straight, will come on down, and then the top part right in here. And then I'm carefully going to do it here on the other side as well. And we'll do that. I'll do this for each page. I'm going to show you the first probably 2 and then do the others off camera. So I'm putting my glue on the top part here, on the back side that you probably can't see. So then grab your page. Remember, I have them labeled so that 5A goes to the front. We've got our sleeve here like this. We're going to fit this down over the page. I've turned it so I can see it a little better. Glue gives us a little more wiggle room, I think, than the tape, so that we can actually make sure we are not down too far. And if you see your glue coming out of the bottom, you can always wipe that off. So I'm just wiping off my glue. I'm going to take my bone folder here and clean up along the edge. And I'm looking at it to make sure it's just sitting right there where I wanted it to. I'm going to hold it up. I'm going to go back to the other side and clean off my glue there as well. And hold it to make sure it is not going down too far. We don't want it down. So clean the glue off. I'm going to turn it back around and double check that I haven't gone too far down. I don't want it sitting on that fold line. Okay, and just press in and let it dry. So you're just going to have to hold it up for a few seconds to let that glue grab. And that's why I say it's easier when you're using score tape, but then I'm not comfortable with score tape actually holding. So we got the glue. I'm just going to hold it for a bit and let it sit. Okay, so I put my little paperweight back here to kind of hold the page up to let it dry more in this position without it laying down. Now, keep in mind that it will not lay completely flat in this album because of these elements on the sides here. So now I'm ready to put my second page in. So I've got my glue. I'm going to turn it so I can see it. I'm just putting the glue on this top part, drawing me a line, trying to not put as much down close to the bottom as I did before. And then I'm going to turn it so I can get the other side at the same time. Okay. Grab my second page set, or the next to the last, which is my 4A. I'm going to open this up. Same thing. Fit it down over the hinge with the sleeve opened up. Sometimes I put my hand down in it at the top so I can hold it open. Okay, get that lined up where I want it. Okay, not too close to the bottom. Just lining, I'm making sure it's lined up with the other page also. I'm going to burnish this side, turn it to the side so I can see what I've got. Make sure I don't have any glue coming out a whole lot. Did a little better that time. So now we're going to let that dry. Just double checking. Make sure it's straight with my other page. Just a little bit. I moved it just a tiny bit to adjust it. And I'm going to let that dry. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and let these dry, and then I'll do my other pages and I'll come back and show you. All the pages are in the book and they're lined up pretty good. And because of the thickness of the inside covers, these are not going to lay down flat. They're pretty flat. They do a good job. So there they are. So next we're going to make some inserts for the sleeves of the pages. And then I will finish up with the decorating of the cover. I'll probably put a ribbon tie closure that wraps all the way around. And add some decorating in off camera, and this book will be finished. So we'll make our inserts next. For the page sleeve pocket inserts, you're going to need 5 because you have 5 pages. And you're going to need 5 sheets, 12 by 12 cardstock. Cut the cardstock each sheet down to 8 1/4 tall by 12 wide. And then you're going to score each one on the 12-inch side at 6 inches to fold them in half. So go ahead and do that on all 5 of your inserts. Fold and burnish that to make this insert for your photo sleeve pockets. Okay, so I've got my inserts made. I did the 5, and I'm going to show you real quick what I did with them. I rounded the corners on just the outer edge. I did on, see here. Yeah, 3 of them I just did solid pattern paper front and back that pretty much match front and back. Then on the inside, when you open it up, I did some matting with the punch die, the photo mat. So just different size mats. I used the craft cardstock out of that one and that one. So you see there's different sizes in here. Look at your scraps, see what size you've got. Also, you might want to wait on this until you know what pictures you're putting in, but I wanted to give you the idea of what it looked like. Now these two, I matted with my colors cardstock, one in the goldenrod and one in the orange. And then I put this pattern paper on here. And I used the flip side of each one because I love how that looks. So in here, I used the matching cardstock, my colors, and some of the tag elements to finish these up on here. So like this is the here and did the sweatery on the back. And then that looks like that. So here's the album. I'm pretty much done. I am done with the inside of the album. And so I'm going to show you that real quick, and we're going to put these in, and then I will finish the outside. There's a couple of ways that you can put these in. You can either put them in all the way completely in like this, and they are going to stick out just a little bit, so that gives that extra decorating color there on the edge. Or if you want, you can put them in just one side and have them hang over. Now, for example, this one I would put in here and let that side show like that. So you could do that. And so you have a little bit of it showing on this back side here. And then you have the whole thing here, and it makes another flap here in your album. So I have, let's see, I have 2 of these. So I'm thinking I'm going to put one of these here like this because of the paper that I chose. So this one goes in. So here is an extra flap here with a mat. Then this one would be one of these with, and I'm going to put it in this way with the cardstock, but I think I'm going to switch it out. Since this one has gold right here, I'm going to put this one with the orange to kind of give it a contrast like so. See how it fits in there. And then this one will be one of these that slips in. I think I'm going to slip it this way so it opens towards the inside. But like I said, you can put them in any way that you want, like that. And then this one here is going to go in. the gold and the gold anyhow, so it's okay. And then the last one, and this is going to make our book pretty chunky. Um, yeah, I'm going to put it in like this, so we have the flap on the back side maybe. Into that pocket like that. So when it closes up, there's our book. So that's why I'm going to be putting a tie on it. So when you open it up, you have this on the inside. Now go through your scraps, your different colors, your if you use this same color, olive green, mandarin orange, and your goldenrod, go through your scraps and make photo mats out of different sizes. I don't give you the measurements for these because it depends on your photos or how you want to look in your book. So I just used scraps totally and just added them into the different pockets. Where I made large mats like this, I put photo mats on one side, and then I did put a little bit of trim. It's just a 1-inch piece of scrap, the width of the tag, glued it on, scored it in half, glued it on, and then rounded the corners. So it gives that little extra decorative look there, and it's like a little pull tab right there at the top. So you see that. And more tags in the pockets. And then I did use tags throughout in different places. Did show you the swing tabs in there, but there's more photo mats and some of those. To keep this flat, I just punched circles out of some of the pattern paper here with these little decorative pieces here. And then there's nothing in that. It just folds out. This one here. It's a fold out. We've got the tags in here, same treatment. I did the decorative on the ends, so it looks like a tab. Whoops. Yeah, that's right. And then some more in the pocket here. Some of your pattern papers, if they're big enough, fold in half to make a booklet. So I did that with this one. That just tucks in that side tuck spot there. Here's another large mat with the paper on the top as a pull tab, the photo mat. And here we have the, I was going to show you, make some photo mats out of some of your images of your pattern paper, just around the corners if you want, or some decorative corner. So that goes in there like that. And you can mat some of your cut apart cards. Whoops, I left a sticker here on the back. Get that off from the paper. And do a mat like that. Here's another one of those large tags with just the paper for the pull right there. And some more mats here. And with your pattern paper, you can make mats. You can piece them like that if you need taller ones. So that's the album. So now I will be adding a tie closure ribbon, tie closure, and finishing up the front. Remember, I was going to make a window with this die. This came in my design team package, and this was available from Country Craft Creations. So we'll work on that next, and then we'll be finished. For the ribbon tie closure, I took about 2 yards of the olive green, drab olive green, and the goldenrod ribbon. And I wrapped it around and I used one of the tags, glued it over it, glued the ribbon down on the back so it will stay secure on the back. I also spritzed it with water, kind of got it crinkled up a little bit, and I tied the ends of the two ribbons together, two different colors, in a knot on each end like that. And then I put tape here to hold this down because I'm going to build up on this cover piece here, and I have all my little elements laying out. So I'll go over those with you for the decorating. I have a couple of pieces of corrugated cardboard that I just peeled off priority box, some of the cardboard there. I have some of this lace fabric, like doily. I cut it into 3 pieces of a little bit of lace. I cut some of the pattern paper scraps and matted them to layer up. And this one here, I'm going to not layer it, but use the color with this little bit of color here on the corner. I layered up this tag that says fall. I created a little bow here with the ribbon, just tied it in a knot. and of course spritzed it with water. The buttons and galore, the fall collection of pumpkin harvest that I got in my package. I'm going to use 3 of the pumpkins. 2 of them leave them as orange. This one I colored up a little bit to bring some of this color in with the Copic markers. And then I have 2 of the leaves. And then here I built up a little window with this image from the pattern paper. This is the die that I used from my design team package called the window die set by Maker's Movement. It gives this nice wood grain when you punch out the die. You build up your window. And then I used a little bit of Nouveau embellishment mousse in the gold. I think it's called Indian gold, and just very lightly rubbed it to get that wood grain showing up a little bit of gold on there like that. So that, and I also matted it onto the goldenrod cardstock. So that's what I have to build up on that. I've laid it all out, took a picture of it off my phone so I can kind of see what I want to do. I change it up sometimes. I don't always keep it exactly the way I originally planned, but I am going to use my art glitter glue to attach this all down. I'll set my phone right in here. Okay, so let's get started. I also have some foam tape to build up with. So let's start out with this piece here. I'm going to pull this tape backing off, so I'll leave the score tape there. And like I said, I'm just going to use my art glitter glue. Everything's dry and this album is finished. I did add with my label maker, count your blessings on some of the orange paper here. I matted it here, and I did put some of the Nouveau Crystal Glaze on the pumpkins and the leaves to kind of give them a little bit of shine. And I love how this turned out. So I want to thank you so much for following along with this tutorial. There will be a separate showcase video if you've already seen it. If not, I will have a clickable link to it at the end of this video. Also, there'll be a slideshow immediately following this. So I want to thank you again for watching. Be sure to check out countrycraftcreations.com for your online shopping of your crafting supplies. Remember, they do have a retail store now in Utah. So if you're in that area and want to go shopping, I encourage you to do so. And give me a thumbs up, like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and click the bell so you'll be notified of my next projects. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Do you recall when we were young, running from all things at once, without thinking twice? And I knew it would catch up, and that we would be the ones left behind. The stories I've been told, they never seem to leave my mind. And this road that I am on, I gotta stay here for some time. Time is gone and I grew up. I somehow made it through without losing sight. And I still wonder where you are, and if you found a way out from the dark.